वन्दे श्रीपुरुषोत्तमं च परमम् धामाक्षरं ज्ञानदम् वन्दे प्रागजिभक्तमेव मनघम् ब्रह्मस्वरूपं मुदा वन्दे अग्नपुरुषदासचरणम् श्रीयोगिराजं तथा वन्दे श्रीप्रमुखं महन्तगुणिनम् मोक्षाय भक्त्या सदा मोक्षाय भक्त्या सदा मोक्षाय भक्त्या सदा।
जय जय स्वामी सहजानन्द। जय अक्षरपति पुरुषोत्तम। जय जय स्वामी सहजानन्द। नारायण नटवर घनश्याम स्वामी नारायण भगवान। अक्षरपति पुरुषोत्तम। जय जय स्वामी सहजानन्द। जय अक्षरपति पुरुषोत्तम। जय जय स्वामी सहजानन्द। गुणातीतानन्द स्वामी मूल अक्षर सहजानन्द एक परमेश्वर। अक्षरपति पुरुषोत्तम। जय जय स्वामी सहजानन्द। जय अक्षरपति पुरुषोत्तम। जय जय स्वामी सहजानन्द। स्वामी सहजानन्द महाराज महंत स्वामी मा विचरे आज। स्वामी
Swami
धारी धर्म धुरा समुद्र सरखा गंभीर ज्ञानेश छो नारायण स्वरूप दास गुणिने स्नेहे जवंदु अहो।
What is kshānti? Kshānti is forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is the action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. Today, we will only focus on what the action or process of forgiving means. Forgiving others means allowing others to make mistakes. For example, have you ever had a fight with your siblings and they say something mean to you in anger? Or have you ever had a falling out with your friends at school? After you have any arguments, if you forgive your sibling or forgive your friend, that means that you accept their mistake and you forget about the argument, so you have a happy friendship with them and can move forward. Similarly, if someone insults you, or if someone forgets your birthday, or if someone accidentally hurts you, then you will experience the process of forgiving them. This means tolerating these situations and not holding a grudge against that person. It means always being kind to them even though they were not kind to you. This is true forgiveness. Finally, forgiveness does not just relate to forgiving other people. Sometimes, bad things happen to us, and we find ourselves in difficult situations. At that time, we need to accept the situation, tolerate the situation, and remain strong and happy. That is also a form of forgiveness. As Balaks and Balikas, how can we imbibe the quality of kshānti in our lives?
Jai Swaminarayan, Balaks and Balikas. Welcome back to another one of our special sabhas dedicated to a quality from the life of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. In this 11th Sabha of the PSM 100 series, we will be talking about Shanti. But before that, let's go to our special website, www.pramukhswami.org. Similar to last month's Sabha, we will also be recapping some of the qualities we've learnt about and recall the practical ways Bal-Balikas can imbibe them into our lives. If you haven't already noted these down, this is a great opportunity for you to fill in the gaps in your Thaiye Swami Jeva worksheets. Before we go on to learn more about today's virtue of kshānti, forgiveness, let's revisit last month's topic of Shrutam and Gnanam, where we learnt how Swami Shri truly understood the meaning of the Shastras and was able to reveal the deep meanings behind many scriptural verses as if he had experienced them firsthand. It was due to his connection with God. He was and is the living form of the Shastras. Let's head over to the Who is Pramukh Swami zone to continue our journey in finding out more about Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life. Here we go!
Last month, we explored the virtue of Shrutam, knowledge. We may hear the word knowledge when we talk about what we learn at school or when learning a new skill. However, as we've seen today, the knowledge or true Gnan that Pramukh Swami Maharaj showed us was of a different kind. This knowledge was knowing our true selves as the Atma and realizing the bliss of the Atma while doing bhakti of Paramatma. In the Satsang Diksha, Mahant Swami Maharaj writes, one should know that the true meaning of satsang is to associate with the Atma, which is true. to associate with Paramatma, who is true, to associate with the Guru, who is true, and to associate with true Shastras. One who practices this divine satsang becomes blissful. This shows us that the embodiment of Gnan is our Guru, as our Guru represents all that is true. When we look at Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life, we see that he was not only living with this knowledge himself, but he was able to give others this Gnan to relieve them of their pain and miseries. Pramukh Swami Maharaj performed Jivan Parivartan. This included transforming people's lives for the better. An example of this is the work that Pramukh Swami Maharaj did towards de-addiction. He inspired thousands to give up their addictions and live a life that was pure, free from misery and conflict. Throughout his lifetime, Swami Shri held many de-addiction camps where he would personally meet thousands of devotees and inspire them to live purer lives. One such campaign ran in the year 2000, where 10,000 members of the BAPS Children's Forum personally contacted 882,000 people and inspired 312,000 people to give up addictions. Swami Shri himself has also inspired many individuals such as Subhash Bhai Patel from Dar es Salaam, Africa. Subhash Bhai was known as the Lion of Dar es Salaam. Due to his lifestyle, he was bold and fearless. Along with his friends, he would go hunting and cause havoc by breaking into buildings and smashing windows. On top of this, he lived a life of addiction, taking intoxicating substances every day for 24 years. In 1995, one of his friends took him to see Pramukh Swami for a construction query, as Subhash Bhai was in the construction business. Before Subhash Bhai could speak, Swami Shri immediately remembered details of when he had met him 35 years before, which Subhash Bhai could barely remember himself. After this meeting, Subhash Bhai was shocked and couldn't sleep at night, wondering what sort of a man Pramukh Swami Maharaj must be. During Puja Darshan the following day, Subhash Bhai's eyes met Swami Shri's. He felt something spiritually change within him, and since that day, he quit all his addictions. In the years to come, he took many other niyams, such as giving up watching films, not eating onion and garlic, and never missing a Sunday satsang sabha. This Lion of Dar es Salaam had truly become a humble lamb in front of Pramukh Swami. Such was Swami Shri's greatness. Another example of someone whose life was transformed by Pramukh Swami Maharaj's spiritual knowledge is Birju Patel from Canada. From the young age of 16, Birju had begun to experiment with drugs. Soon, he became addicted, regularly wasting his money and ruining his relationships with his family and friends. In 2016, Birju reluctantly came to the BAPS Mandir in Toronto with his friend Sirish. They went for darshan, and when they reached Pramukh Swami Maharaj's murti, Sirish noticed that Birju suddenly became still and his eyes began tearing. He somehow felt connected to Swami Shri. Pointing to his chest, Birju described his experience as a sense of being full. I feel that there is something in here. He added that for the first time in many years, he felt emotions such as love, hope, and peace. After this incident, Birju regularly visited the mandir for 3 months and performed seva. He would meet the resident sadhus and listen to their discourses. He soon developed a deep love for the mandir and Swami Shri, and today, Birju has overcome his addictions. He has restored his broken relationships, become an active volunteer in the mandir, and also helps others fight addictions. In the same way that Pramukh Swami Maharaj inspired Subhash Bhai to give up his addictions, Birju also felt this silent inspiration from merely having darshan of Swami Shri's murti. We are lucky that we don't have to meet the Satpurush for him to pass on his knowledge. His darshan in mandirs or reading about his life can inspire spiritual change and transformation within. We've seen that Pramukh Swami Maharaj was the true embodiment of spiritual knowledge. he understood where true bliss lies, which is in the service of Maharaj and Swami. We should remember Mahant Swami Maharaj's teaching of Aksharam Aham Purushottama Dasosmi, meaning our true self is Akshar and we are the humble servants of Parabrahma Purushottama Bhagavan Swami Narayan. If one true self is Akshar, we have no need for worldly indulgences and vices. With this very knowledge, Pramukh Swami Maharaj inspired countless others to live pure lives. We too can pay homage to Swami Shri by following his Agna and Niyams and daily reflecting on every action. One question: is Swami Raji? Join us in the next video where we will reveal and discover more of Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life and divine virtues.
Wowzers! Simply amazing! The more we hear about Swami Shri and his life, we are left more and more amazed each time. Now, moving on to today's topic, we will explore the virtue of forgiveness and how we can imbibe it. To find out more, let's head over to the Learning Zone. Before we start, make sure you have your pen and pencil and this month's worksheet so you can take notes throughout the Sabha. Now that we're ready, let's ask Pujya Anandpriya Swami to explain what kshānti means and how we can use Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life as inspiration in also imbibing this quality into our lives.
गुणातीतोऽक्षरं ब्रह्म भगवान् पुरुषोत्तम जनो जानमिदं सत्यमुच्यते भवबन्धनात् श्री स्वामीनारायण भगवान जय अक्षर पुरुषोत्तम महाराज जय गुणातीतानंद स्वामी महाराज जय भगत जी महाराज जय शास्त्री जी महाराज जय योगी जी महाराज जय प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज जय महंत स्वामी महाराज जय प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज शताब्दी महोत्सव जय। Shanti. What is Shanti? Kshānti means Kshama, and Kshama means forgiveness. To forgive a person. We are going to talk about Pramukh Swami Maharaj is this unique quality, this virtue of Shanti, how he forgives, so that we can also become like him by imbibing this virtue and walk on the path of the great sadhu, Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Thaiye Swami Jeva. Let me give you a few prasangs. Each prasang you will hear, you need to introspect. And you got to ask yourself, how are you going to imbibe that quality of Pramukh Swami Maharaj in your life? As Bal-Balikas, it is better to mold yourself in this way and imbibe these virtues of our Guru, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, Mahant Swami Maharaj, so that we can become very happy in life and peaceful. Pramukh Swami Maharaj was in Mumbai in 1997 on the 8th of May. He was sitting and a youth wanted to meet him. And so he came to meet Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Soon as he came to Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he started crying. And he asked for forgiveness. And he said, Swami, my whole business has collapsed. I'm in pain and misery. My friend circle has left me. In my family, people are not talking to me. This is happening to me. So Pramukh Swami consoled him. And then the youth said, Swami, this is the reason is because 2 years ago, when your Amrut Mahotsav was being celebrated in Mumbai in 1995, 75th birthday of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, I used to curse you. I used to swear at you. I used to talk ill about you to everyone. I hated you. These are the words he was speaking. Grunati tamar mate, gruna sabda. આ બધું જ મને થતું હતું. મારા ફ્રેન્ડ સર્કલ કે આવું ન બોલાય, આવા મોટા પુરુષની આવી રીતના ખંડન ન કરાય, એનો અપરાધ ન કરાય. બટ આઈ ડિડન્ટ લિસન ટુ ધેમ એન્ડ સો આઈ ended up in this situation. Please forgive me. Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he consoled him. He put his hand on his shoulder and blessed him. And he said, તમે ગમે એટલો અપરાધ કરો, no matter how much insult you have showered at me, and you insult and talked bad about me, કહે છે, but Bhagwan and Sant, they do not take it into the heart. They ignore them. Therefore, don't feel bad. The fact that you came and told me, that is more than enough. Bhagwan maaf karse જ. I'll forgive you. Even if you do not come to me, I would have forgiven you. Therefore, take this tension out of your mind. This is what Pramukh Swami Maharaj told him. ભગવાન બધું તારું સારું કરશે. You start coming to the Sabha. You'll enjoy it, કહે છે. Look at the way Pramukh Swami Maharaj forgives people. Put yourself in the same situation. How would you react when someone has done this to you? It is an extraordinary quality of God and His Gunadis Sant. Even if he is insulted, offended, poisoned, or brought close to death, a true sadhu always forgives. That's Pramukh Swami Maharaj. We are celebrating his 100 years. Next year, his centenary year. This is the quality we also need in our lives. And it is good that we get this from a young age, from a Bal-Balika umar, from the age. Imbibe this quality. A true sadhu never seeks for revenge or punishment, even if he is insulted or harmed in so many ways. This is complete forgiveness. We see these special qualities in Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Not only does Swami Sri forgive the people who speak ill of him, but he also goes out of the way to make sure these people are not disrespected or troubled in any way by anyone else. નહીં કે આપણે જેવા બધા બહાર ઊભા હોય અને આપણને ખબર પડે આને આવું સ્વામીનું કર્યું છે તો આપણે થાય કે મારો ગુરુનું તો આવું બોલ્યો છું, એને આપણે ઠપકારીએ. But not Pramukh Swami Maharaj. So I'll also speak Gujarati prasangs as well, which you also need to understand, because if you lose language, you lose culture. So we have to also learn Gujarati, understand Gujarati, speak Gujarati, write Gujarati. So as Bal-Balikas, we have to understand all these things. Pramukh Swami Maharaj was in the village of Dharmaj, next to Bochasan, and there એક સંસ્થાના ઇતર સ્વામિનારાયણ સંપ્રદાય એના એક હરિભક્ત, a small article had come in the newspaper that he had passed away and gone to Dham. Another Swaminarayan Sampradaya, Haribhakta. So Pramukh Swami Maharaj straight away told the Santos, I want to write a letter to his son and consoling him and inspiring him and telling him that don't worry, we are there for you and your father has gone to Maharaj's Dham. Pramukh Swami wanted to write this letter to the person, but if you look at the background, the Santos said, Swami, why do you want to write to him? The Haribhakta was sitting there, why do you want to write to him? All his life, he died at the age of 78 or something, around that time. So all his life, he has always insulted and rebuked and talked ill about BAPS Sanstha and you. He has spoken so much ill words about you and the Sanstha. So why do you want to write a letter to him for? Let it be. Pramukh Swami Maharaj said, when he was young, he used to come to have darshan of Shastriji Maharaj. And he used to do one danvat to Shastriji Maharaj. So, it is good that I write, and not only that, we have to forget what he has done. We have to forgive. This is Pramukh Swami Maharaj. The first step of forgiving is to tolerate. And Swami Sri's tolerating power was limitless. No matter how much he was hurt or insulted, or even our Sanstha was hurt or insulted, Pramukh Swami Maharaj always always forgive the person. A person who can put the past behind him, forgive those who have wronged him, and pray for their well-being has achieved the greatest heights of forgiveness. That's Pramukh Swami Maharaj, our Guru, which we also want that virtue from his life. Despite knowing such things about a person, he still forgives. In 1989, on the 9th of April in Ahmedabad, one youth by the name of Hemant, he was wandering around in the courtyard of Mandir, worried, intense situation, completely fidgety, agitated. So Sadhu said, why are you wondering like this? Do you want something? I want to meet Pramukh Swami Maharaj. So the Sadhu go, okay. He arranged it to meet Pramukh Swami Maharaj. In front of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he opened up his heart and he cried. He asked for forgiveness. Just like that youth in Mumbai, he said, Swamiji, in 1985, when you were celebrating the bicentennial celebration of Gunatin Swami, I specifically kept one stall in your Bal Nagri. And there, I had your photo and everything, but I did it to despise you, to make a mockery out of you. Every day, I would get one photograph of yours and I would keep in that stall and then put it on the ground. I will stamp on it, I will spit on it, I will talk ill about you, and I will talk ill about everyone. I'll smoke cigarettes especially and put it on your photograph. I did all these things just because I had that hatred. So please, I'm really sorry about this. Please forgive me. Since then, my health is good, but my business has gone down. Not only that, my family, friends, but my family itself, they're not having good relations with me. This is due to the fact that must have insulted. That is what they're also saying. And I believe they're right. I have insulted a great soul like you. Please forgive me. Pramukh Swami Maharaj said, forget it. Maharaj will forgive you. You got a layer of your prarabdha that you are destined to do that. What such comforting words from Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Imagine someone told you like this. How would you feel? You will go in anger mode, more than anger mode. Here is Pramukh Swami Maharaj consoling that yuva. He wiped his tears, forget it, and Bhagwan and Sant will forgive you. This is called Ajat Satruta. A person who does not have any enemies, that is the word Ajat Satruta. A person, in Maharaj's word, Swaminarayan Bhagwan's word, according to Pratham 27, Samarth Thaka Jarna. What does that mean? That you have the power to teach that person lesson, but you do not use the power. Pramukh Swami had a power to teach anyone a lesson, but he did not teach anyone any lesson. He just forgave them. When you do not use the power you have, that is called Samarthaka Jana. Fit that in your mind, Samarthaka Jana. We don't have power, yet we try and crave power so we can hurt other person. But not Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Imagine a prominent writer wrote so much bad about our Sanstha and Pramukh Swami Maharaj, degrading words and everything. Yet, Santos and Haribhaktos felt we should remove his misunderstanding of our Sanstha and Pramukh Swami Maharaj. It is going out, it's an article in the papers, in a magazine, so we should tell him that this is wrong. So they had prepared a reply. Pramukh Swami Maharaj found out. And Swami કે આ બધું જરૂર નહીં કે છે આપણે કોઈને જવાબ આપવાની જરૂર નથી. We don't need to give an answer to anyone. Why do we have to reply? Shashis Maharaj and Yogis Maharaj never replied. They continued their work. They did the seva. એમની લીટી લાઈને આગળ કરી છે. આપણે તો બધાને માફ કરવાના. ત્યારે પેલા હરિભક્તો કહે કે સ્વામી કૃષ્ણ ભગવાનનું પણ જ્યારે અપમાન કરતા હતા, પેલો શિશુપાલ, when he was insulting Lord Krishna, શિશુપાલ the demon, એ બધાએ, તો કૃષ્ણ ભગવાને એની 100 times he tolerated insults. On the 101 time he destroyed him, killed him. This is the argument the Haribhaktos and the Santos had with Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Pramukh Swami Maharaj said, Krishna Bhagwan is God. એ ભગવાનનો અવતાર હતા કે છે, એટલે ભગવાન તો આવું કરી શકે ટુ બ્રિંગ રાઇચસનેસ. આપણે તો ભગવાનના સેવક છે. વી આર સર્વન્ટ્સ ઓફ ગોડ. વી ડોન્ટ ડુ ધીસ થિંગ્સ, વી ફોરગીવ કે છે. આ પ્રમુખ સ્વામી મહારાજ છે. વન હુ શોઝ મર્સી to all is able to lead others. That's why he can lead us. Forgiving even when one is capable of retaliating is something that only a true sadhu can do. A sadhu in whom God resides. Swaminarayan Bhagwan resides in Pramukh Swami Maharaj. That's why he can do this, because, as I said, Samarthaka Jana. Vachanamrut Pratham number 27. No one but the true sadhu can forgive despite being able to have the power to punish. It is known as Samarthaka Jarna, Ajat Satruta, person with no enemies. Pramukh Swami Maharaj always said, if God looked at our faults, we would never be liberated. And Sri Maharaj always looked at the good things in us. So why should we look the bad thing in another person? We should do the same. Look good things in other people. This is the motto he lived by, in the joy of others. So if anyone insult him, he will forgive them. If you had an operation done and then you were resting in the hospital bed, what would people do? Your friend circle, your relatives, they'll bring something to cheer you up. Nice drink of Lucozade or something to give you energy, chocolates, flowers to make you happy, lighten up the day. Pramukh Swami Maharaj had an operation of tumor in 1986 in Mumbai. He was resting in Paramanand Kaka's house. His friend, a politician, comes along. He finds out that Pramukh Swami Maharaj is resting here. So he goes into his room and starts giving him a nice present of insults. Harmful words. Completely out of nowhere he comes and says all these rubbish things. Pramukh Swami Maharaj did not say a single thing. The Santos, the Haribhaktos saw this. They wanted to return. Pramukh Swami said, no, forgive. And then he went away. Paramanand Kaka was taken back. And this politician, he lost his status anyway, because when you insult a great sadhu, this is what happens. And 2 years later, in 1988, in Pramukh Swami Maharaj's 68th birthday was celebrated in Nairobi. Pramukh Swami is sitting in the assembly, and this person, this politician, comes along in the assembly. He had come to Nairobi to collect some funds, to raise some funds for his charity or whatever it was. And Pramukh Swami saw him. He called the organizers and said, call him and garland him. And they called him on the stage. Pramukh Swami announced, and he told the London trustee, CM Kaka, and Africa trustee, Marendra Bhai Barrister, please announce that anyone can give fund for his good cause. And this person, when he was garlanded, he had tears in his eyes. He cried in front of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, Swamiji, 2 years ago I insulted you. I did not realize your greatness. Please forgive me. Pramukh Swami Maharaj says, I don't understand. I don't remember. You got to forget everything. Never remember all these things. And God forgives you. This is the quality of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. You may be able to forgive, but can you forget? No way. We remember what people have done to us 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That you did this to me, you didn't help me out. We did all these things and we keep a grudge. We don't forgive. Here's Pramukh Swami Maharaj. He's able to forgive, and a higher step, able to forget. Now, that is something which we also have to learn. It's difficult. I find it difficult. We all find it difficult. But from a young age, if we develop this habit, we will be able to do it. We will be able to master this virtue and can be imbibed in our lives. So, what can we and what can you, as Bal-Balikas, take away from this? What can you do in your day-to-day life? The first thing you should do is to learn to tolerate. If you want to forgive someone, the first step is to tolerate. Tolerate the small things that happen in your life. This is a very important virtue, aspect of life for forgiveness, to tolerate. Because it affects us otherwise. For example, if your mom tells you something and you don't do it, you get agitated and you don't tolerate. If your mom doesn't make the food that you like, you get agitated, you lose your tolerance power, you get angry. It goes into anger mode, everything. If your brother or sister or relative do something, or friends does something to you, they call you by names, or they insult you, or they don't do work in the office, or they take something from you and they don't give it back to you, or they take things without asking you, you get agitated and you don't tolerate. You have to learn to tolerate. You want to watch something and someone else wants to watch something in the house, and you have a fight. You don't tolerate. So you have a competition in your house or with your friends or in the school, and you don't get the prize and another person gets prize. You don't tolerate. I did better than you, but he's cheated. He gave you the prize. That's not fair. He's giving sides. All these things are little practical things you got to find out where you cannot tolerate. But you have to learn to tolerate. That's the first step in forgiveness. The second step is introspection. Introspecting, think about the incident that takes in your life. Anytime you feel agitated or you don't feel like tolerating, think about it. Why did it happen? Is it my fault? Is it someone else's fault? Or did someone else do things? And even if it's someone else's fault, can I do something so I do not get angry and I can be able to forgive? See, you got to introspect. Look back. Think back. Accept how you felt about it. A joke. And then you realize, okay, I felt bad, but then I should not retaliate. Let me think. So it gives you time to think. So there's a second. Third thing, then comes forgiveness. When you analyze the whole incident, after tolerating it, then you will be able to forgive that person. If it's your brother or sister or family member or friend, anyone, X, Y, Z, even in the mandir, So it doesn't break your relationship with the person. Always remember, forgiveness is a great virtue because it helps you keep that bridge intact. I read a nice quotation. Do not burn the bridge if you don't have to. Why do you want to burn the bridge? A relationship with a person, with the people, with your family, with your friends. When you don't need to. Or they make mistakes. So the fourth step is understand the other person. Whoever has harmed you. You feel someone's harmed you. But come look at it from his side. Put yourself in his shoes. Okay, why did he do this? And then introspect. Because when you tolerate, your power grows. Your mind becomes stronger. When you analyze from the other person, it becomes stronger. You see? So these is very important steps. Analyzing the whole incidents. So this will help you to tolerate and then to forgive to person. And finally, it will help you to forget. And decide whether you want the other person that you have forgiven to tell, okay, I have forgiven you. Do you want to tell? Pramukh Swami never told everyone, I have forgiven you. He just goes about his business. But if you want to, the choice is yours. So at least you will feel better. Even if you don't want to tell, but at least say to yourself, I have forgiven that person. That will make you feel better. And one of the final steps is to forget, which I told you earlier. Forgive and forget, the most important step. True forgiveness is not holding a grudge. It is easy to say you forgive someone and their actions, but to let go will bring us true peace and happiness. When you let go, when you forget, that brings you haven't got it in your mind. Don't occupy your brain cell with small things. This happened there, so I'm not going to forgive you. Learn to forgive. Pramukh Swami has forgiven every single person on this earth. If he can forgive those people, those who attacked the Gandhinagar Akshardham, if we had the heart to forgive them, I'm sure we can also have the heart to forgive other people that is surrounding us, they don't harm us. Small things. It's our Sabha, it's our ego. Because of that, we cannot learn to forgive. But we have to get rid of that ego. Understand that everything happens by the will of God. Very important principle. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, for generations and generations, it is the will of God, whatever happens. And this is the most easiest, but it's difficult. But understand that. Even Yogiji Maharaj says in Yogi Gita in Sundrut, Sahan Shakti hai jabaro gun che. It's a big quality, Sahan Shakti. Tolerance. And that tolerance, એનાથી આપણને ફોરગિવનેસ આવે છે કે એનાથી આપણે ભગવાનને સંતનો આપણામાં પાવર આવે છે that we are able to forgive people. Learn to read Yogi Gita in your puja. We have to do puja every day. This is why we have to do puja, to understand, to learn so many things. So, I would like you to take 4 or 5 key takeaway messages from this. Every day we should read this Yogi Gita, Sikshapatri and Satsang Diksha, which tells us how to lead and forgive. The first thing is, the first to apologize is the bravest. That's the first key message. You are brave if you apologize. The first to forgive is the strongest. The first to forget is the happiest. You'll be happy. Learn to let go to find your inner peace. You have to let go. Don't get attached. કે મને આવું કર્યું હતું, પેલા આવું કર્યું હતું, મારી પેન લઈ લીધી, મારી પેન્સિલ લઈ લીધી, મારી ગેમ લઈ લીધી, મને રમવા નહીં દીધું. He never let me play PlayStation. His friend played. Forget it. Learn to let go. Let him play. Let him enjoy. You enjoy by watching them play. Enjoy themselves. And daily read Swamiji's prasangs that give you this kind of strength. Bird. એવા પ્રસંગો વાંચવાના. A collection of those prasangs. You should collect them. Always compile them. You do write so many other things. Write this in your diaries, some of these prasangs, and think about them every day. Before you go to sleep, in the morning, during puja, think about this kind of prasangs. Tolerance is the highest degree of our strength. And the desire to take revenge is the first sign of weakness. Always remember that. That's the first sign of weakness. That is why Pramukh Swami Maharaj never had a weakness in his life. Due to his compassionate nature for all. Thus he was able to forgive and most importantly, forget. Kshānti is merely a word we give to Pramukh Swami Maharaj's character. It was never a conscious thought or action for him. It was just inbuilt in his life. It was inbuilt. એમ આપણામાં પણ ઇનબિલ્ટ થઈ જાય, ઓટોમેટિકલી થઈ જાય. Just like you're breathing, you don't realize you're breathing, and you'll be able to learn to forgive automatically if we become like Pramukh Swami Maharaj, Thaiye Swami Jeva, by imbibing the virtue of forgiveness in our lives. સ્વામિનારાયણ ભગવાનની જય.
Let's click on Satyam to recap today's virtue. Firstly, we learnt that we should always speak the truth. In today's Sabha, during the Ghoshna, we recited Satyam Vada Sachu Bolo. We should always reflect on this, as it will help us to always be truthful and honest. We should never lie. We also learnt that through this satsang, we have attained the ultimate truth. Therefore, after each sabha, we should share what we have learnt with our friends, parents or grandparents. So, after the sabha today, make sure you speak to someone in your family about this ultimate truth that you've learnt today. Be proud to talk about the mandir or our beliefs to your class at school. The older Balaks and Balikas should also try to do the presentation about the mandir at your school. And finally, be friends with those who will support you and the truth. They will ultimately help us to please Maharaj and Swami. Amazing! Wowzers! There it is again! That's the 5th piece of the puzzle. Let's click on Sheelam to recap on what we've learnt about today's virtue. Firstly, we learnt that we should always follow our niyams firmly, regardless of circumstances. These niyams will help to shape our character. We also learnt that in the Satsang Diksha Granth, Param Pujya Mahant Swami Maharaj has mentioned that Satsangis should never steal, even for the sake of dharma. We should never commit theft. Therefore, we must follow his agna and always adhere to this rule. Also, whilst performing bhakti or seva, we should only think about pleasing Swami Baba. We shouldn't do it to impress others or to show off. And finally, we should always remember that Maharaj is Antaryami and is always watching us. We should be sincere and honest in every action we do. This thought will help us to always do the right thing. Amazing! Let's click on Titiksha and recap on how we can imbibe this virtue in a practical and easy to understand way. If someone tells us off, we should never argue back. We should stay calm, fold our hands and say sorry. Brahma Swarup Yogiji Maharaj used to teach, Jyatya, Jevu Tevu, Jem Tem, Jalavi Leta Shikhu. We should remember this quote and learn never to complain. Do not be stubborn or get angry. If we think that we're about to get angry, Pramukh Swami Maharaj teaches us that we should chant the Swami Narayan mantra 5 times. Let's practice it all together. Swami Narayan, Swami Narayan, Swami Narayan, Swami Narayan, Swami Narayan. This will help us calm down in all situations. We should always see the good qualities and the positive side of things in our daily lives. We should ignore any negatives. And finally, to help practically imbibe the virtue of tolerance, we should learn to let go and forgive. This will mean that we will always remain happy. How amazing! Thank you to Pujya Anandpriya Swami for explaining what the quality of kshānti means and sharing with us inspiring and memorable prasangs from the life of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. We should remember these prasangs and imbibe what we've learnt from them into our daily lives. After the pravachan, did you guys see the puzzle pieces? All of the sabhas came flooding back into my memory. We've learnt so much this year, and that video nicely summarized the virtues of Satyam, truth, Sheelam, integrity, and Titiksha, tolerance. To make sure we don't forget what we've learnt, we should regularly read our Sabha notes to keep everything fresh in our memory. Now, let's head over to the Smruti Zone to watch a special video of our beloved Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Here we go!
Pramukh Swami
कृतालय से चला स्वामी शुद्ध उपासना व्रतधारी कृतालय से चला स्वामी शुद्ध उपासना व्रतधारी हस्त में माला खंभे जोड़ी एक गज पत्थर धारी हस्त में माला खंभे जोड़ी एक गज पत्थर धारी तेजस्वी मुख मुद्रा शोभे तेजस्वी मुख मुद्रा शोभे
गावे गावे घूमे संतो कठिन करता साधना गावे गावे घूमे संतो कठिन करता साधना कठिन करता साधना बस फैलावा उपासना कठिन करता साधना बस फैलावा उपासना गावे गावे घूमे संतो कठिन करता साधना सुख दुख ने ना गाठे हइये हम भरी छे वारी सुख दुख ने ना गाठे हइये हम भरी छे वारी बढ़िया करे के गाड़ो दे सहवानी तैयारी यज्ञ पुरुष जैसा थे यज्ञ पुरुष जैसा थे यज्ञ पुरुष जैसा थे संत ने मुट्ठी भर
don't worry about it now.
पांडव सभा पांच स्वामी जी का हम सब पर है उपकार अनुपम 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 है उपकार अनुपम
Ah, that was so nice. After watching that, I want to know more about Pramukh Swami and his life. Let's revisit the Who is Pramukh Swami's Own again and continue the story of his life. Check this out.
In today's Sabha, we have been exploring the virtue of kshānti, forgiveness. It is an extraordinary quality of God and the Gunatit Sadhu. Even when insulted, offended, robbed, poisoned, or brought close to death, a true sadhu always forgives. Not only this, but a true sadhu never seeks revenge or punishment for those who have harmed him. That is complete forgiveness. Pramukh Swami Maharaj was always willing to forgive mistakes or insults. Maybe we are able to forgive people, but then forget the past and also pray for the well-being of people who have insulted you or directly disobeyed your instruction is even harder. A writer in India had written several false accounts about Pramukh Swami Maharaj and the Sanstha in a publication. Some of the sadhus decided that they would respond, but when Pramukh Swami Maharaj found out, he quickly stopped them and said, "Did Shastriji Maharaj and Yogiji Maharaj ever respond to such things? I want you to promise me that you will never react to such articles." At a later event, Swami Shri met the writer and invited him on the stage to sit next to him. Everyone was astonished and inspired by Swami Shri's ability to forgive. We know of countless incidents like this, in which Swami Shri wholeheartedly forgave all. Let's take a look at a few prasangs through Swami Shri's karya of letter writing. Throughout his life as a sadhu, first as a young parshad, then as the president and guru of the Sanstha, Swami Shri read and replied over 750,000 letters. Sometimes these letters would be for small personal problems, which others would dismiss as insignificant, such as, "What color should I paint the walls of my home? Which motorbike should I buy?" Once, Swami Shri received 5 anonymous postcards from someone who was turning bald and wanted blessings for their hair to regrow. Yet, Swami Shri would take the time to write back with as much care as he would for each and every issue. Many of these letters would be sent by people experiencing pain or misery. They would turn to Swami Shri as a father, as a friend, and as a mentor when they needed someone to listen and provide comfort and support. Many of these letters would also be to ask Swami Shri for forgiveness. Gunadityanand Swami mentions that if the Jeev confesses to the Satpurush, it cannot remain without becoming nirdosh, otherwise known as being without any flaws. This concept of nishkapat-panu, honest confession, is very important. Only after becoming nishkapat to the Satpurush can peace be experienced. Kirit, a young yuvak, experienced this firsthand. Kirit's mind was rapidly leading him away from satsang. It wasn't the first or second or third, but the 4th time that he was trapped in such a bad situation. He was fully aware that what he was doing was wrong and that he was deceiving Swami Shri. After much introspection, he wrote 2 consecutive letters to Swami Shri, who was at that time in the USA, asking for forgiveness. Swami Shri forgave and blessed him both times and noted that the matter would be discussed in person when he came to his city. Swami Shri returned from the USA, but Kirit was scared to meet him, and each passing day deprived him of Swami Shri's bliss and happiness. Seeking advice, he was told, "Be frank with Baba, be honest, tell him everything. He is the only person who can understand your plight, forgive you, and lead you onto a safer, securer future." Kirit gathered his courage and met Swami Shri that very afternoon. Swami Shri, seeing Kirit walk in, lovingly called him by his name and asked him where he had been all these days. Kirit then revealed the reason for his absence and disclosed personal problems he'd been encountering lately. While he was asking forgiveness for the mistake he had committed, Kirit broke out in tears. Swami Shri instantly forgave and consoled him. Kirit was unable to believe Swami Shri's limitless mercy and forgiveness for him. He began to cry even more. Now tears welled up in Swami Shri's eyes too, but he immediately began to carefully wipe Kirit's tears with his own upper cloth. Kirit had never experienced such care and selfless love before. Kirit's transformation all started with the letter he wrote to Swami Shri, asking for forgiveness. Swami Shri took the time to bless him and forgave him through letters and mulakats. Despite Kirit's mistakes, Swami Shri revealed so much love. This is real forgiveness. Swami Shri never let someone's past mistakes change the way he saw and cared for them. Through his letters, Swami Shri also inspired others to develop this quality of forgiveness. A devotee in Mahanagar faced a major crisis at home. His son had run away from home. No one knew where he was, and it felt like his family was collapsing. The root of the problem was miscommunication and stubbornness, as the son could not forgive his father's harsh words, and the father could not forgive his son's decisions. Swami Shri first took time to find out the issue from both sides. He was very sympathetic and kind to both father and son. He advised the son to return home, and in the meantime wrote a letter to the father guiding him to be more understanding of his son. In the letter, he blessed the family and encouraged them to be forgiving. The letter worked wonders in bridging the gap and resolving the misunderstanding between father and son. Pramukh Swami Maharaj's ability to forgive and to inspire others to do the same was like none other. The key to Swami Shri's genuine forgiveness was his humility and compassion. Next time we face a situation in which we can either hold a grudge or truly forgive someone, let us remember Swami Shri and strive to be like him. Thaiye Swami Jeva. Join us next month for the final video where we will see how each and every one of Swami Shri's karyas only had one goal: to connect us to Maharaj and Swami.
Super wowzers! We have no words to describe his compassion. Pramukh Swami Maharaj taught us how important the virtue of forgiveness is. It's such an important virtue for all of us to have. The first step of forgiving is tolerating. Swami's tolerating power was limitless, no matter how much he was hurt or insulted. Bhagwan Swaminarayan states in the Vajramrut, no one but the true sadhu can forgive despite being able to punish. Swami Shri is able to put the past behind him, forgive those who have wronged him, and pray for their well-being, and so he has achieved the greatest heights of forgiveness. We've learnt so much today. I hope you all took great notes and that you will use these notes to understand the meaning of kshānti to help us imbibe this quality into our lives. Now, let's head over to Kids News to see the latest news and updates. It is Ekadashi this Tuesday, the 30th of November. As always, take this opportunity to follow Bapa's Agna by only eating Ferrari food and by controlling what we watch and listen to. A final reminder that Satsang exam registration for Bal-Balikas closes this Tuesday. If your ACO hasn't already confirmed that you have been registered, please contact them today. They can also help you to make sure that you have the correct book for the pariksha. And great news, the Sishu Vihar books are now also available. How amazing!
BAPS Bal Pravrutti Central Office presents a new publication, Shishu Satsang Vihar, for infants from 8 to 10 years. Interesting and instructive 20 contents. More than 30 exciting activities. More than 20 songs to sing along with your Shishus. Easy meanings of tough words. Simple explanation of Agna and Upasana. Invaluable teachings filled with words of wisdom from our Gurus, Brahma Swarup Pramukh Swami Maharaj and Pragat Brahma Swarup Mahant Swami Maharaj. Shishu Satsang Vihar, which will inspire every Shishu to become ideal. Available in BAPS bookstalls soon.
અમે શિશુ મંડળમાં દોડી દોડી જવાના દોડી દોડી અમે શિશુ મંડળમાં દોડી દોડી જવાના દોડી દોડી અમે શિશુ મંડળમાં દોડી દોડી જવાના
Make sure you write these points down using your Thaiye Swami Jeva worksheets. The first to apologize is the bravest. Our gurus have taught us to always say sorry, even if we're not in the wrong. We should always do whatever is necessary to maintain sump. The first to forgive is the strongest. Our gurus have taught us to always forgive. Regardless of what may have happened in the past, we should understand that everyone can make a mistake, and to keep harmony amongst us all, we should always forgive. The first to forget is the happiest. Our gurus have taught us to always forget the past and not let it distract us from the present. It's always better to forget the past and move on. We shouldn't hold a grudge. We should keep a positive mindset. Learn to let go to find inner peace. Our gurus have taught us ways in which we can be happy all the time. If someone made a mistake, we don't need to constantly think about it and tell others about it. We all make mistakes. We all learn from our mistakes, and we must all move on from those mistakes to progress. Daily, read Swamishi's prasangs to give us the strength to forgive. Sometimes it's hard to see the bigger picture and also to be the bigger person in situations like this. But if we read about the life of Pramukh Swami Maharaj and Mahant Swami Maharaj, we can learn how they forgave everyone and never reminded them about the mistakes or shortcomings. We too must act accordingly, and to find the courage to forgive others, we should read more prasangs on a daily basis so we can imbibe the quality of forgiveness. How amazing! Aha! I hear the bells ringing, which can only mean one thing. It's Aarti time. Let's head over to the mandir to join in with the Aarti. So make sure we sit up straight, clap and sing along. You can also light a diwa with your parents or family members. Ready? Here we go!
Dharshana जय योगी जी महाराज नी जय प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज नी जय महंत स्वामी महाराज नी जय प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज शताब्दी महोत्सव नी जय.
Before we end the Sabha, let's pray for Mahant Swami Maharaj's continued good health. He's currently in Gondal and will be going to Atladra soon. Make sure you continue to check the BAPS website for the latest Vichran pictures and Guru Hari Darshan videos. Let's also pray that the coronavirus pandemic situation improves here in the UK and across the world. Swami Narayan, 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 Shri Swami Narayan Bhagwan Ni Jai. Thank you for joining us for the 11th Sabha of this PSM 100 series, celebrating Pramukh Swami Maharaj's Shatabdi Mahotsav. Next week, be sure to join on time for your local Bal-Balika Sabha. Let us end today's Sabha with the Dhyay Mantra and Samapan Shlok. Jai Swami Narayan.
Gunatitam gurum prapya brahmarupam nijatmanah vibhavyadasabhavena Swami Narayanam bhaje. Shri Harim Saksharam Sarvadeveshwaram Bhakti Dharmatmajam Divya Rupam Param Shantidam Muktidam Kamadam Karanam Swami Narayanam Neelakantham bhaje. Shri Harim